What if I told you that 72-year-old Diane threw away 47 boxes of stuff in just one weekend and called it the most satisfying experience she'd had in years? She wasn't cleaning because she had to, she was decluttering because it became strangely addictive. And here's the weird part, by Sunday evening she was actually disappointed there wasn't more to throw away. If you're over 60 and drowning in decades of accumulated belongings, these 3 psychology-backed steps will transform decluttering from an overwhelming chore into your new favorite hobby. Trust me, step number 2 will shock you with how good it feels. Meet Diane Rodriguez, a retired teacher from Phoenix who spent 40 years collecting everything from her children's artwork to every kitchen gadget that promised to make life easier. Sound familiar? After her husband passed 2 years ago, Diane realized she was living in a museum of memories that had become more burden than blessing. Her 3-bedroom house felt like it was closing in on her, and she couldn't find anything when she needed it. But here's what changed everything. Instead of tackling decluttering like a massive, overwhelming project, Diane discovered 3 specific steps that made the process genuinely enjoyable. These aren't your typical Marie Kondo methods. They're designed specifically for people who've lived full lives and accumulated meaningful possessions over decades. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the thought of decluttering your home? Drop a comment and tell us what's your biggest decluttering challenge. We read every single one. Step 1, the Archaeology Method. Dig through your life like a treasure hunter. Diane started with what I call the Archaeology Method, and it completely changed her mindset. Instead of seeing decluttering as throwing things away, she approached each room like an archaeological dig through her own life story. This wasn't about efficiency, it was about honoring her journey while making intentional choices about her future. Here's how it works. Pick one small area, maybe a single drawer, closet shelf, or even just one corner of a room. Set a timer for exactly 30 minutes. Now, instead of frantically sorting, become an archaeologist of your own life. Hold each item and ask, what story does this tell about who I was? Let yourself remember the moment you acquired it, why it mattered then, and what it represents now. Diane discovered a wooden spoon she'd used to make Christmas cookies for 20 years. She found report cards from her children, now in their 40s with families of their own. A ticket stub from her first date with her late husband. Each item became a moment of reflection, not a decision to stress over. I realized I wasn't just organizing stuff, Diane said. I was having conversations with different versions of myself. The magic question, does this item represent who I am now, or who I used to be? This simple shift made all the difference. Diane realized she was keeping items for a version of herself that no longer existed. The busy mom, the working teacher, the woman who entertained large groups regularly. Pro tip for seniors. Create 3 boxes labelled Present Me, Past Me and Maybe Me. Present Me items stay and get places of honour. Past Me items can go after you take a moment to honour the memory and thank that version of yourself. Maybe Me items get revisited in exactly 30 days, not longer. Diane found 15 coffee mugs for a household of 1. She kept her favourite 3. Including one her granddaughter made in art class, and her husband's favourite mug that still smelled faintly of his morning coffee. The other 12 went to the local shelter. Each morning I use one of my special mugs instead of grabbing whatever's closest, she said. My coffee tastes better when it's intentional. The science behind it, research shows that reminiscing activates the same brain regions associated with reward and pleasure. By combining nostalgia with decision-making, you're literally rewiring your brain to enjoy the decluttering process instead of dreading it. What's one item in your home that tells a story about who you used to be? Share it in the comments. We love hearing these stories and they inspire other viewers. The addiction factor. Within the first week, Diane was looking forward to her daily 30-minute archaeology sessions. It became like opening presents from my past self, she explained. The dopamine hit from rediscovering forgotten treasures made the process genuinely enjoyable. She started setting aside special finds to share with her children during their weekly calls. Advanced technique. Create a memory journal alongside your sorting. Write down the stories behind items before deciding their fate. Even if you donate something, you've preserved its significance. Diane filled an entire notebook with memories triggered by forgotten objects. Warning: don't attempt this method for more than 30 minutes at first. The emotional processing can be exhausting, but in small doses it's incredibly rewarding and therapeutic. Step 2, the Gift It Forward game. Turn your clutter into someone else's treasure. This is where Diane's decluttering became truly addictive. Instead of just throwing things away or dropping everything at goodwill, she turned disposal into a strategic game of spreading joy. Every item she decided to part with became a potential gift to make someone else's day genuinely better. The setup: get a notebook and create specific categories. New parents, college students, new homeowners, teachers, crafters, gardeners, and anyone who needs a smile. As you declutter, assign items to these categories. But here's the key: don't just donate randomly. Actually connect items with specific people who need them. Diane's discovery: she had accumulated 23 vases over the years, wedding gifts, sympathy flowers, birthday surprises, impulse purchases from craft fairs. Instead of feeling guilty about getting rid of gifts, she turned it into a mission. One elegant crystal vase went to her neighbour Maria, who mentioned loving fresh flowers but never buying them for herself. Another colourful ceramic piece went to her granddaughter's teacher for weekly classroom flowers. She even left a beautiful hand-blown glass vase at the community centre with a note for someone who needs beauty in their day. Research shows that giving activates the same reward centres in our brain as receiving, but with an added bonus. It also triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. When Diane saw Maria's face light up over that simple vase, and later noticed fresh flowers on Maria's kitchen table every week, she got hooked on the feeling. "I started looking through my things, wondering what else could make someone happy," she said. The 1-week rule. When you decide to donate something, don't take it away immediately. Place it in a departure lounge box and live with the decision for 1 week. If you don't miss it, think about it, or reach for it during that week. It's ready to go. This removes the panic of permanent decisions while building confidence in your choices. Diane's collection of more than 200 romance novels from the 1980s went to the Senior Centre Library. 3 weeks later, I visited and saw Mrs. Chen reading one of my old favourites, Summer of Love by LaVille Spencer. She grabbed my hand and thanked me for the best book she'd read in years. That moment was worth more than the entire collection sitting dusty on my shelves for a decade. Her extensive craft supplies went to a local elementary school teacher who was spending her own money on art projects. Getting that thank you note with photos of second graders using my fabric scraps for their art projects made me realise those supplies had found their true purpose. Word spread about Diane's generous spirit. Friends started calling to ask if she had specific items before buying new ones. Her adult children began checking with her before purchasing household items. Her decluttering became a community resource, making her feel more connected and useful than she had in years. Create a gifting calendar. When you know someone's birthday, anniversary, or special occasion is coming up, you might already have the perfect gift waiting in your home. Diane gave her friend's new granddaughter a barely used high chair she'd kept just in case. What's something sitting unused in your home right now that could make someone else's day? Tell us in the comments what you're inspired to gift forward. Let's start a giving chain. The anticipation of making others happy became more exciting than keeping items. Diane started taking photos of recipients with their new treasures, creating a joy journal that proved the tangible impact of her decluttering efforts. "I had more fun giving away my things than I ever had buying them," she laughed. Step 3. The Legacy Curation Method. Become the curator of your own life museum. This final step transformed Diane from someone drowning in possessions to the thoughtful curator of her own legacy. Instead of keeping everything just in case or because it once had meaning, she became intentional about what story her belongings would tell future generations. This wasn't about minimalism, it was about maximum meaning. Imagine your home is a museum exhibit called The Life of Your Name. If visitors walked through your space, what would they learn about who you are, what you value and how you've lived? What 20% of your current possessions would tell your story most powerfully and authentically? This perspective shift changes everything from overwhelming clutter to meaningful curation. She started taking photos of items before deciding whether to keep them. I realized I was keeping my grandmother's china for someday special occasions that never came. The photos captured the beauty and memory, but actually using the dishes created new memories with my family. She began setting the table with the good china for regular Tuesday dinners with her daughter, making ordinary moments feel special. The 3-generation test. For any sentimental item, ask, will my children's children understand why this mattered to me? If yes, keep it with a story attached. If no, honor it with a photo and story, then pass it on. Diane created a digital scrapbook with photos and stories behind meaningful items, whether she kept them or not. This became a treasured family record that her grandchildren actually looked through regularly. Diane discovered she was keeping broken items to fix someday. A jewelry box with a broken hinge, a lamp missing a shade. Picture frames with cracked glass, a ceramic figurine with a chipped base. I counted 31 broken things I'd been moving around for years, she laughed. That day, I threw away 31 items and felt 31 pounds lighter. I realized I was trying to fix my grief by keeping broken things. The one-story rule. Keep items that have stories you'd actually tell with enthusiasm. Diane's test. If my granddaughter asked about this item, do I have an interesting, meaningful story to share? If the answer was no, or if the story felt forced, it probably wasn't worth the space it occupied. Advanced technique. Create legacy boxes, one per child or significant person in your life. Fill them with meaningful items specifically chosen for that person, with written stories attached explaining their significance. This eliminates guilt about not keeping everything while ensuring important items find appreciative homes. Diane's daughter cried when she received a box containing her father's watch, his favorite book with margin notes, and the ticket stub from her parents' first movie date. The 80-20 revelation. Diane realized she used 20% of her possessions 80% of the time. I had 47 serving dishes, but used the same 3 for every gathering. I had 23 coffee table books, but only opened my favorite 5. I owned 15 sweaters, but wore the same comfortable 4 all winter. Keeping only the best 20% made everything more special and accessible. The freedom discovery. By focusing on legacy rather than loss, Diane found liberation. I went from being owned by my stuff to consciously choosing what deserved space in my life. Every item I see now is there intentionally, and that feels incredibly powerful. Practical implementation. Start with duplicates in each category. You probably don't need 6 mixing bowls, 15 coffee mugs, or multiple versions of the same kitchen gadget. Keep your absolute favorites and donate the rest. This builds confidence and creates visible progress before tackling emotionally charged, sentimental items. What's one item in your home that tells your life story perfectly? We'd love to hear about it in the comments. These stories inspire other viewers to see their belongings differently. The curation mindset. Within 3 months, Diane described feeling like she lived in a carefully curated gallery of her own life, rather than a storage unit for her past. Every room tells my story now, but it's the story of who I am today, not just who I used to be. 6 months later, Diane's life looked completely different. Her home went from cluttered museum to peaceful sanctuary. But the real transformation was psychological. I thought decluttering would make me feel empty, she said. But instead, I feel full of intention, full of purpose, full of space to breathe. The numbers tell the story. 47 boxes donated, 12 bags recycled, 3 friends furnished with needed items, and 1 woman who rediscovered joy in her surroundings. But more importantly, Diane sleeps better, finds things easily, and actually invites friends over again. The weird part? Diane laughs. I look forward to organizing now. Last week, I rearranged my spice cabinet just for fun. My neighbor jokes that I've become a decluttering evangelist, and she's not wrong. When something feels this good, you want to share it. The process that started as overwhelming necessity became Diane's favorite form of self-care. She's not just living in her house anymore, she's thriving in her carefully curated home. If Diane's story resonates with you, you're not alone. Thousands of seniors are discovering that decluttering doesn't have to be overwhelming, it can be genuinely enjoyable. Hit that like button if you're ready to try the Archaeology Method this week, and subscribe to the Senior Reset for more life-changing strategies designed specifically for your stage of life. Share this video with someone who needs to hear Diane's story. Sometimes we all need permission to let go of the past and embrace the present. What's your biggest decluttering victory? Tell us in the comments below.